Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Pre-Snap Podcast presented by LineStar, your top NFL player prop bets for tonight's Monday Night Football contest. We've got the San Francisco 49ers hosting the Detroit Lions, a rematch of last year's NFC Championship game. Tyler, how you feeling on this Monday? First of all, thanks for filling in for me last week. Came down with a little appendicitis at the end of the week, which put a wrench in my holiday plans, but we're back at it this Monday, ready to roll. Thanks for filling in.
I am just glad you're back and you're feeling good now.
All right, so let's get after this prop market here. We are using the PropsAI tool on the LineStar app, as always, to help us find the best value. So you can check that out for yourself if you'd like at LineStarApp.com. And let's dive into this matchup because it's kind of an interesting one. Of course, the 49ers not really playing for anything right now. They're already eliminated from playoff contention. But you've got to think heading into this matchup that there's a little extra juice in this one, being that these two teams met in a very contentious NFC Championship game just last year. The Lions, meanwhile, I feel like maybe they might be looking ahead to next week when they face the Vikings. That's a much more significant matchup for them in this one. So really the stakes for the Lions, if they lose this one, it's not that big of a deal. They've got to win next week against the Minnesota Vikings. So Tyler, as you kind of look at the spread here, we've got the Lions as the favorite in this one by 3.5 points. Anything that jumps out to you about this matchup in general?
I mean, with the Lions mentality and everything, I'd be shocked if they just kind of phoned
nail it in. Yeah, that doesn't sound like a Dan Campbell team.
No.
They're fighting ankles off every week.
And I mean, they're also on a historic season. Like, don't you think they would want to have the most wins they possibly could have? And they don't really want to take a week off before they're going to face the Vikings. Like, they want to be firing on all cylinders. It is not a meaningless game, even though next week is the one that truly matters for them.
All right, so let's first dive into the injury report, and then we'll get into our favorite prop bets of the night, and then we will have our touchdown calls of the game as well, and then we'll get into the sides a little bit. But let's start off with that injury report because it is significant. Of course, we've still got David Montgomery on the shelf. He's out for the season with that knee injury. Wide receiver Khalif Raymond is out with a foot injury. And one of the linebackers is out or is actually just questionable for Detroit. Now, on the 49ers side of things, they're extremely banged up. And one thing to watch for tonight is definitely the offensive line. There could be kind of like a patchwork situation there on the O-line because remember that Trent Williams and Jalen Moore are both on the IR. So that's definitely something to take note of. We've also got Dre Greenlaw, one of the best linebackers there. He is out in this contest with a calf injury. So just the injuries are piling up for the 49ers in this one, but definitely keep an eye on that offensive line there, and that could impact things in the run game. All right, let's get into our prop bets here. We're going to start off with LineStar's PropsAI pick of the night, and that's going to be 49ers running back Isaac Guerendo. Now, given everything that I just said about the offensive line for the 49ers, we're actually pivoting to the receiving yards over here for Guerendo. It's at 12.5. LineStar's projection is at 16, and so is the consensus. And this is a line that he's been over 2 of the last 3 games. He had 18 receiving yards versus the Rams, 50 versus the Bears. And you're actually looking at a Detroit Lions defense that is ranked 27th in pass defense DVOA versus running back specifically. So I think Guerendo, they might be interested in using him more in the passing game as we've seen over the last couple contests. Tyler, what's your impression of this 12.5 receiving yards line for Guerendo?
I think the line's too low. In games this year where we've seen Guerendo play at least 50% of the snaps, he's averaging 3 receptions for 28 yards a game. They obviously want to use him in the passing game, and he's a big, explosive back that can catch the ball. So I think 12.5 is low. Let's hammer it.
All right. Now it is time for Tyler and I to give our favorite picks of the night. So, Tyler, where are you headed for a player prop bet tonight?
I'm going to go with Jauan Jennings, over 64.5 receiving yards. Our LineStar projection's only 63.8, so slightly to the downside. But remember, these are median projections. So it's still saying that, 50% of the time we're going to be over that. And I am just favoring the overside in this spot. Lions 31st versus wide receiver 2 on our team defense tool over the last 10 games. Jauan Jennings and Kittle have been the 2 most consistent pieces of this 49er offense all season long. And as the wide receiver 2, he's averaging 8.6 targets and 78 yards a game. And the Lions are allowing 187.6 yards per game to the wide receiver. So I love the spot for Jauan Jennings.
And that Lions defense so banged up this season. I know in the injury report it doesn't really truly indicate it because we've got so many players on the IR for them as well. So that's definitely an area to target in this matchup. And the 49ers aren't packing it in by any means in this one, especially in a home game. And like you mentioned, who would have thought that Jennings and Kittle, the most reliable receivers, after what we have seen in the past from guys like Debo and Ayuk, but it's those two guys who have really stepped up and made, I guess, the most important impact on this team, though. I mean, we've definitely had a disappointing season. I think the last time we saw the 49ers in primetime was that Thursday night game against the Rams, and I mistakenly put my faith in Debo Samuel in that one. So learned my lesson in that one for sure. But for my pick, I'm actually going to the Lions side of things. And let me know if you're with me on this one, because I hate to do it here, but I kind of got to fade the rushing yards line for Jahmyr Gibbs right now. It's at 93.5. Listen, I think that's a little bit high for him. LineStar's projection is just 79 for Gibbs rushing yards. I understand that David Montgomery is out, so the volume will absolutely be there for Gibbs in this one, but he has been under that in 4 of the last 5 games. And I know the last game without David Montgomery, he did have 109 rushing yards. However, I think this 49ers rush defense and the way that they're going to play the Lions in this one is they're going to try to take away Gibbs and that prolific rush offense. And I think you got to do that by having Nick Bosa back at full strength. That's going to make a huge difference in this one. And I think they're going to force Jared Goff to use his arm to beat them in this one. So I wouldn't be surprised if they put extra bodies there to stop Gibbs in this one. So he will likely go under that 93.5 rushing yards, but we know what Gibbs can do. So it's, you got to be able to take the risk in this one with me. So let me know in the comments if you're with me. I do have another one for you because that line has also come down a little bit on Underdog. I still like it. I believe it's around 87-ish, but still kind of favoring the under. But for those of you guys, I have a fantasy matchup, so I'm also going to take out a player prop bet on Sam LaPorta tonight to go over his receiving yards line at 44.5 tonight. It's a little bit of a selfish endeavor here for me, Tyler, because I need Sam LaPorta to have a big game to win my fantasy football championship. But LineStar's projection is with me at least 52, and the consensus is around 45 or so. So he has been over this 2 of the last 3. And San Francisco's like average versus tight ends, but I also think it'll be very impactful not to have Dre Greenlaw back there banged up. A couple of their linebackers are a little banged up right now. Remember, Johnny Smith for the Dolphins just had 62 receiving yards against them, and Dawson Knox put up 56 just a few weeks ago. So that could be a way you go as well. But for mine, I'm still going to roll with that Gibbs under. I may regret it, but let me know what you think in the comments, because the comment also enters you into our prop bets contest. So if we go 3 for 3, one randomly selected commenter will win $50, and we'll announce that on next week's show, the last show of the season. Man, this season has been flying by. So make sure to enter that contest, like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment below, and you are in it to win it. Next up, touchdown calls of the game. Tyler, where are you headed for an anytime touchdown in this Monday night contest?
I'm going to go with Amon-Ra St. Brown plus 100. Even money for Amon-Ra is crazy to me. He had 10 touchdowns last year. He's at 11 this year. He has the most red zone targets on the team over the last 4 weeks. And he has scored in 8 of 9 games this year, which the game total finished with 49 or over points. Our game total line right now is at 50.5. So likelihood is that going over 49. He's almost been money in the bank in games like that.
Yeah, absolutely. He's been the most targeted in the red zone over the last 8 weeks for sure. So the second most targeted, though, is my touchdown call, Sam LaPorta at plus 200 for an anytime touchdown. I like the value we're getting here, especially since Sam LaPorta has 6 touchdowns, 3 of which have come in the last 4 games, 10 red zone targets over the last 8 weeks. Like I mentioned, that is second most behind only Amon-Ra in this game. And San Francisco mediocre versus tight ends. They're 15th in pass defense DVOA versus them, but they also have just been allowing teams to score in the red zone, 27th in opponent red zone scoring this season. So I like the price tag we're getting with Sam LaPorta plus 200. Also, it would help me in a fantasy matchup for tonight. So got to throw that in there. I like when I can align all of my my betting and my fantasy as well. So all of my rooting interests are one. which, maybe I should go the other direction and have something to root for either way. But hey, we're going all in on this Monday night game. Sam LaPorta, let's go. Have a game. Those are our touchdown calls. Let's take a look at the sides here. We've got the 49ers as home underdogs, 3.5. Not sure I would have expected that if you had told me that at the beginning of the season, that the NFC Championship game would be, the Detroit Lions would be coming in as the favorites in this one. But how are you playing this one?
I mean, this is a tough one. At least the 49ers are getting a little healthier. They're kind of the healthiest they've been in weeks now. But all in all, I think it's, the Lions are just the better team. This offense has been incredibly tough to stop. The only big factor here is that you're dealing with Jared Goff and outdoors. However, that hasn't seemed like it's quite as big of a deal this year than some other years. So
yeah, that's a really good point. I think anytime any team travels to San Francisco, it can be kind of a challenge, but the Detroit Lions, man, it's hard to bet against them this time of year. However, from a betting perspective, I feel like the 49ers, I don't know, I feel like you mentioned, getting a little bit healthier, 3.5 points at home. I don't know. I feel like they've also been playing teams pretty close. The game total on this one is at 50.5. Yeah, I keep kind of condensing myself back and forth on I'm going to play this one. So I don't know. It's just really hard because the Detroit Lions have been a pretty great team in terms of covering the spread. But I don't know. Especially, I think I got to go with the home team in this one as the underdogs. I'm going to go with the 49ers to cover that 3.5 mark. I think I got to take the points there with the 49ers, but definitely hard to bet against the Detroit Lions right now in any respect because, Dan Campbell's going to have them super fired up for this one. I think they're going to be out for a little revenge after last year's NFC Championship game. And even though, like we mentioned, they can lose this game, the big game for them is next week against the Minnesota Vikings. But, I mean, these guys are going to be fired up for it. In terms of the game total at 50.5. I felt like that's a little high. Any impressions on that?
I think probably going over.
You're going over. Okay.
Yeah.
We're expecting a big game tonight in the hopefully for fans.
Yeah, I mean, this 49ers offense is good. I know it hasn't been playing great lately, but I don't think the Lions offense you can really stop them. And so I think most likely outcome is something like a 27-24 or something game like that.
All right. So those are our picks for tonight. Let us know again what you think in the comments, what you're rolling with in terms of betting or any of those prop bets. Let us know. We're all trying to help each other out and beat the books on this Monday. Man, season's flying by. Hope you guys are enjoying the holiday season. Got New Year's Eve coming up. Hope you guys enjoy it. So that's going to do it for our pre-snap podcast for tonight's Monday Night Football contest. Best of luck in all of your betting endeavors. And remember to check out our NBA prop bets as well. Good luck, everybody. We'll see you next time.